Hello and welcome to Audiobook Theater Live. My name is Jeffrey Kafer, and today I'll be reading from Desires of a Full Moon by Jodi Vaughn. This is the next in the Arkansas Werewolf series, a series about werewolf shifters, paranormal fantasy romance. And I'm going to start from chapter 1, so I don't need to really introduce anything. Just so you know, this is the actual audiobook recording session. What you hear now will be on the audiobook. You'll see my software recording in the corner, and you'll see how when I make a mistake, what my process is. So here we go. Chapter 1. Just outside of Little Rock, Arkansas. Present day. Penises are like shoes. They come in all shapes and sizes. When you find the right one, no matter how hard you try, you will never wear it out. Jaden Parker stumbled to a halt as the unmistakable sound of Granny's voice drifted in from the other side of the living room door. He closed his eyes, fought back a shiver, and whispered a silent prayer that Granny wasn't actually talking to someone. Please let her be reading Cosmo out loud. The magazine was... Let her be reading Cosmo out loud. The magazine was like her morning devotional. She had this bad habit of sharing the sage advice she found in the magazine with him whenever he came over for breakfast. When she'd read the article about oral sex, Jaden had almost tossed his eggs and bacon on the tile floor. He scrubbed his hand over his face as his gut twisted in anticipation. He shouldn't have come. He should have created another excuse for why he wasn't visiting her as much as he once did. He tried to play it off by telling her he was busy with his new job as a guardian for the Arkansas werewolves. He'd always say he was on some new mission or some other bullshit answer to keep her from complaining so much. Usually she bought it. But now not so much. Jaden opened his eyes and steadied himself. Before he could change his mind and escape out the door, he sucked in a breath and turned the corner, forcing his feet to carry him into the living room. The scent of cinnamon and sugar hung heavy in the air. Maybe Granny had baked his favorite cookies in an attempt to bribe him into visiting more often. The second he stepped into the living room, he froze. About 20 women of all ages were crowded into Granny's tiny living room. Some were perched on the couch and chairs, while others sat on the floor. There wasn't even enough room for him to walk through the while others sat on the floor. There wasn't even enough room for him to walk through to get to the kitchen. Granny stood at the front of the room like a gray-haired Vanna White, holding a neon-green dildo in her hand. "I'm in hell," Jaden murmured under his breath as his stomach turned. When Granny had started selling sex toys in Louisiana as a way to make some extra income, he'd tried his best to talk her out of it. But she was a persistent old goat, and he had stopped nagging her about it. He figured that no one would be interested in some old woman peddling that merchandise, and she would eventually give it up. What he didn't take into account was Granny's tenacity. When she got something in her head, she didn't give up. And in less than a year, she was pulling in a 6-figure salary. She was like a dog with a bone, refusing to give up her status as a self-made entrepreneur. Now, after their recent move to Arkansas for his newly acquired job as a guardian, he had hoped that Granny would give up her sex toy industry in an attempt to fit into the conservative state. Boy, was he wrong. He'd needed a fresh start, and Arkansas offered him an opportunity. Louisiana held too many bad memories. A few months ago, Jaden had helped Arkansas werewolf and friend Damon Trahan find a kidnapped college girl. That led to Jaden ending up on the wrong side of a pack of rogue red werewolves. What happened that night had been worse than the bruises and broken bones his Granny could see. Because of his werewolf blood, those injuries had healed. But some scars he carried went deeper. Way deeper. Those were the things he could never tell his Granny, or anyone for that matter, despite how hard she tried to get him to talk to her. Since then, Granny had been watching him, looking at him like she could see what was rolling around in his head. The last fucking thing he needed was his Granny seeing how fucked up his brain had gotten from his one night of torture. He eased back a step, hoping to escape out the front door before Granny saw him. He made a quick turn just as his foot caught the corner of the rug. He stumbled and his hip bumped the corner of the sofa table, rattling the ruby-red bowl that held decorative, colorful glass balls. Granny turned. A smile stretched her weathered face. "Jaden, I didn't hear you come in." She waded towards him through the puddle of people on the floor. I didn't know you were having a party. I can come back later. Jaden smiled tightly and turned to go. Granny latched onto his arm, her smile growing wider. She turned and faced the room. Everyone, I'd like you to meet my grandson, Jaden. He's single, you know. Jaden gritted his teeth and wrestled a smile into place as a collective giggle went up in the room. The last thing he needed was a date. Ellie could get a piece of ass anytime, anywhere. It was just lately, since that night in Louisiana, he really hadn't felt the urge to be with a female. Maybe he was too fucked up to be fixed. Jaden gently pried Granny's hands off his bicep. I didn't mean to interrupt your little sex party. Boy, did those words not want to come out. Now, was that so hard to say? Granny rolled her eyes and faced the room. You have no idea. Jaden ran his hand across the back of his neck. Laughter erupted in the room, and he flashed them all an apologetic smile. From the corner of his eye, someone caught his attention, causing him to do a double take. It was her. Ailey Guthrie, the girl he'd rescued in Louisiana. What the hell was she doing here? And that's it. That was Desires of a Full Moon by Jodi Vaughn, coming soon to Audible. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time on Audiobook Theater Live.